All right, I'm at the Castellón Store Visitor Center exhibits, and you see the mesa to the left there. That's where I was at this morning hiking, and I'm camping at Cottonwood. A grand tradition. During the mid-1930s, the Texas Ranger Station Magdalena House at Castellón was headquarters for the late Pete Crawford. During the fall of 1936, I had the occasion to drive to Castellón and found Ranger Crawford in bad humor. Crawford told me that he had arrested a Mexican national who a few months previously had stolen a horse and saddle from Sam Nell. The alleged thief was temporarily handcuffed around the ranger station flagpole while Crawford was preparing him to take him to Alpine. While Crawford was inside the ranger station, the man pulled the flagpole from the ground, slipped his handcuffs over the end, and escaped across Rio Grande. Crawford later stated he was too mad about losing the prison, but the escapee told him sent him word to please send me the keys so I can unlock my handcuffs. The Army was later arrested. Texas Rangers in Boquillas, Texas. Texas Rangers target practice. Texas Rangers, 1880s. Across the river, exhibits in nearby Castellón Visitor Center describe how a multicultural community developed around Castellón in the early 1900s, a community that in many ways extended into northern Mexico. The transparent border. National Park visitors on the south rim. Army biplane. Mexican cowboys in Lajitas. Extreme isolation often encouraged residents along the Rio Grande to ignore the river's status as an international boundary. Texas Air National Guard at Johnson's Field. Mexican homestead. Wagons loaded with lechuguilla road. This created significant law enforcement problems for U.S. Customs, the Texas Rangers, and the U.S. Army. Border contraband, tequila. Goats watering in the Rio Grande National Park Range in 1988. Texas Rangers, sheep herders. Out of necessity, big benders and the people of northern Mexico often ignored customs and immigration laws when dealing with one another. Smuggling sotol in wooden kegs, sotol plant. Since it was difficult to earn a living the other way, illegal trade flourished across the Rio Grande. Smugglers from both sides of the river carried various types of contraband back and forth, including sotol and other alcoholic beverages, especially during Prohibition. Spring store. Because smuggling was so widespread, many people accepted it as a normal part of life. Even Maggie Smith, the legendary beloved manager of Hot Springs store on the east side of today's Big Bend National Park, smuggled Candelito wax. Start of a roundup, 1889. Cowboys, 1916. Roundup, 1935. Along the border from the 1890s to the 1950s. In wood in Terralingua, unloading freight trains in Terralingua. Terralingua transport to leave Alpine winter 1934-35. Open border. Family returns to Mexico. Simple homestead along the river. Families from northern Mexico often migrated across the Rio Grande in search of a better life. Sometimes they established small homesteads on lands they didn't own, raised a few crops to supplement their income as farm laborers. Surprisingly, most landowners didn't object because the homesteaders provided both labor and fresh produce. Smugglers crossing the Rio Grande. U.S. Customs agents frequently spent long hours waiting to apprehend smugglers crossing the Rio Grande, and their diligence interrupted a significant amount of illegal trade. During Prohibition, 1920 and 1933, they made frequent arrests of both Mexican and American citizens who were smuggling illegal alcohol. Cattle smuggling, 1912. Ooh. Company B, the Texas Rangers in 1917, tracking outlaws. Texas Rangers, 1880s. Texas Rangers ready to ride. Texas Rangers and River Guards. Texas Ranger Company Alpine in the 1890s. All Blue Yonder. During the 1930s, law enforcement took to the skies over Big Bend as the U.S. Army established an airfield 15 miles southeast of Castillo on Johnson's Ranch. Patrolling Big Bend by air. Johnson's Ranch Airfield, 1930s. In 1929, Mexican General Jose Escobar led a brief rebellion in northern Mexico. Fearing raids by Mexican rebels, Texas rancher Elmo Johnson and W. Smithers, a well-known professional photographer, encouraged the U.S. Army to establish an auxiliary airfield at Johnson's Ranch, located on the Rio Grande near Castellon. Although no raids occurred, the resulting airfield served as a deterrent to illegal border crossings. The Texas Air National Guard planes at Johnson's Ranch. During the 1930s, flights out of Johnson's Ranch scanned for German aircraft that might be operating along the Rio Grande, and during World War II, Civil Air Patrol flew thousands of hours over the Mexican-American border, including Big Bend. As a result of these efforts, sightings of unidentified or suspicious aircraft declined, and the southwest border of the U.S. remained secure. Patrolling near Mule Ears. Well-known high-ranking military officers visited Johnson Field in their careers, including Jimmy Doolittle, who led the famous Doolittle raid in Tokyo during World War II. All retain vivid memories of an airfield recognized as supporters of securing Big Bend's transparent border in the 1930s and 1940s. The airfield at Johnson's Ranch played an important role in training Army flight crews during the 30s. Pilots from airfields near San Antonio landed at Johnson's Ranch, stayed overnight in small officers' quarters, and they returned to the airfield the following day. While at the ranch, they enjoyed the hospitality of Elmo and Ada Johnson's, including sumptuous meals, conversation on Johnson's patio, hunting trips, and in the surrounding deserts. Show of force. Flying to Johnson's Ranch. Flying through Santa Elena. That's where I was at, Santa Elena Canyon this morning. Border Patrol, 1919. A harmonica store, Castillo, 1916. End of an era. Today, the nature of the Mexican-American border and Big Bend has changed significantly, and the presence of U.S. Customs, Texas Rangers, and U.S. Army has ended. 2002, the border closed. There are no authorized border crossings in Big Bend. A tradition comes to an end. Big Bend announced the canceling of upcoming 22nd Annual International Good Neighbor Fiesta this year. Castillo becomes part of Big Bend, 1961. In 1941, the creation of Big Bend National Park began to alter the social and economic conditions that created a transparent border, and the multicultural community that spanned the Rio Grande began to disappear. However, local residents and visitors began to the national continue the tradition of crossing the border unofficially for almost 60 years. The small Mexican communities of Santa Elena, just across the river from Castellon, and Boquillas across the river, became popular with national park visitors. Both towns offered restaurants, gift shops, cantinas, and provided rowboat service across the river. Sadly, because of the events of 2011, September 11, 2001, brought an unexpected change to Big Bend. Gilberto Luna, 1947, he was said to be 108 years old. Cotton fields in Castellon. Castellon store, 1957. The daughter of Libredo Inagres,